Welcome back, guys. I'm with the Chuck, and we are back with another RLCraft video. And this time, we're going to 300 days, and I think it's gonna be wonderful. I'm not gonna lie to you guys; they made it kind of hard to get things done with this new update. Things take a lot longer than I initially anticipated. And while even though we're on track to still kill the final bosses, it's taking way too much time. So I think I just need a little bit more luck and maybe some better playing skills. But these videos take a long time and a ton of work to make, so if you guys enjoyed this video or want to support the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. It only takes a second and you can always change your mind later. Now, onward to 300 days. I wanted to try to familiarize myself again with what I had going on from the first 200 days, so I looked through all my stuff and then I wanted to choose how I would continue through the next 100 days. I found this underwater dungeon close to base, so I started to clear it out a bit. The Doom-like underwater dungeons always seem to have pretty good loot inside the chest, and I really wanted to find a shulker heart because I needed it to make a ring of free action, and it could be found in underwater Doom-like dungeons, but it was a very rare drop. I went back to the giant town that night because I wanted to try to find more Liberian villagers that I might have missed from before, but all I found was a zombie villager that wanted to end my life. I went off to explore for a bit and I decided to kill this dragon, but it was a bit more difficult than I thought because when they use their breath attacks, it blurs your screen, and honestly, this was super annoying and it kind of gave me a headache as well. I went back to the town to look for some villagers and I hoped that I could find somebody new and hopefully they would have a really good enchant, but obviously that didn't happen. I looted a battle tower and found another underwater dungeon. I went back to base, but I realized that I was almost out of space and there really wasn't any new location for me to put down any more chests in a small fishing hut, so I knew that I needed a better solution soon. I did some more exploring and I found another underwater dungeon. I kept finding some pretty interesting structures while I was out exploring. I looted a giant battle tower and I left with a ton of loot. I decided I was going to make my new storage area to stay because I was completely out of space, and I decided I wanted to make the storage area right behind the fishing hut so I wouldn't have to run back and forth to find my items. I enchanted a pickaxe and a shovel so I could work faster. I wanted to have enough storage area so I wouldn't have to keep adding new storages, but I decided I didn't want to make the area too big because that would have been a lot more work. I made sure to put some torches inside this hole that I was digging because I didn't want anything to spawn in the dark. I turned all the rocks I got into cobblestone and then I smelted them into stone so that I can use them later for aesthetic purposes. I struggled with clearing out the sand in this area since it would fall down every time you dug into it, so I just ended up with this giant hole behind my base. The area for the base was turning out pretty good, but I wanted to raise the ceilings a little bit so it would have more space for storage. I like the sandstone color for the floor, so I decided to keep the same style all the way around. I went to go kill some mobs near their base, and this rock dropped a freaking blighted charged creeper, and man, did this thing make a massive hole in the ground. I started using dirt to close up the hole because I didn't want a big ass hole near my base, and I went back and started finishing up all the other stuff in my storage area. Cleared out all the stone on the floor and replaced it with sandstone. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's starting to look pretty good right now. Now, all I needed to do was work on the top and fix the holes I made while digging through the hole. I turned the stone from before into stone brick and started filling in the ceilings with it since I didn't want any dirt because I think it looked really ugly. I went out to start collecting wood because I didn't like the storage options in RLCraft, so I added in the storage drawers mod because it looked nice and it made things a lot easier to find. I spent the night cutting down trees so that I can make a ton of drawers, and I decided to just fill the walls with them so that I wouldn't need to worry about storage for a long time. I started putting some of the most important things into them, and I think this makes finding things a lot faster and a lot easier because I could see them visually now. I wanted to light this place up so mobs wouldn't spawn here and potentially screw up my entire storage area. I finished adding in pretty much every stackable item I had into my storage, and I made a waystone with another star I got from before, and I placed it in the center of my storage. I hung up some lanterns and replaced this wall with some stone bricks. Now I think the storage is officially done and I won't have to worry about space any longer. And it also looks pretty nice aesthetically as an added bonus. Now that I had my storage built, I decided I needed to make some Aussie liners so that the upcoming winter wouldn't kill me because the last one was brutal. I went out exploring that night trying to find more villagers and some potential dungeons to loot, but I found this really cool pyramid dungeon that I went inside of to see if there was any good loot down there, but there wasn't, so I left. I found one of these structures to end the night, and I think it's funny how I still don't know what the structure is actually called. Anyway, there were two librarian villages at the bottom, and one had Silk Touch and the other had Advanced Looting 3. The Advanced Looting 3 was a very exciting enchant, and I think this is probably the best enchant I found in the wild. The top chest didn't really have any good enchants at all, and I decided I was going to come back here to re-roll the villagers for a chance to get some better enchants. I made my way back the next day and I started re-rolling the villagers for enchants, but they didn't have anything good, so it was really a waste of time and resources. I did some exploring this day and I tended to my aerosaur farm. I looted a battle tower and I ended the night. I looted another battle tower and I found this dragon near that structure I keep finding, and I'm just going to start calling this freaking structure a wooden brewery. I killed the dragon and I rushed in to loot the building before it burned down completely. I didn't find anything good inside, and I think I'm starting to think that the enchants in this structure are not that good. I took the XP tomes, and I later found this weird little staircase. Inside the staircase was a creeper trap that freaked me out a little bit. I found another brewery, and once again the enchants were awful. So I'm really going to start using these structures for like XP tomes and a chance to find good librarian villagers. While exploring this weird tower, I was sure that it led down to a dungeon, but I wasn't about to go down 50 flights of stairs, so I left. I found this blue mountain, so I decided to kill these yetis for meat because you can use their meat to make battle burritos, and I needed that desperately. I found more yetis on this snowy biome, so I decided to lessen their population as a form of self-imposed natural selection. I found a village with a library inside of it, so I looted the chest, but I didn't find anything too good. I'm gonna come back here later to re-roll the librarians, and I'm hoping I get something good because I'm fiending for it. While I was re-rolling this guy, a freaking creeper killed him, and now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I would never know if this was the one. If this was the villager that would give me freaking advanced protection or supreme sharpness, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that feeling of not knowing was eating me alive. On the bright side, this guy did have the Curse of Possession enchant, and I needed that for any future weapons I might end up making, so it wasn't a total loss. On this day, I wanted to find the end stronghold and finally beat the Ender Dragon since I didn't do it in the last 200 days. The reason why I didn't do it is because I was scared that I would get killed by the mini demons that ended up spawning inside of the end, so I waited until now since I should be strong enough. I made my eyes at Ender and took some food and some wine with me so that I can buff up before the fight, because you never know what can happen in there, and I wanted to go as the strongest version of myself. I started following the eyes, but I was really hoping that it wouldn't be that far, and it really wasn't, so the eyes did take me over the water and I got attacked by a siren, and also trying to get the eyes back while flying over water is damn near impossible. After a while, I found where the eye ended, and it turns out it was freaking underwater. I dug down into the ground trying to find where this place was, but I was struggling to see the exact location. After a while, I found a part of the stronghold, so I buffed up just in case somebody wanted some smoke, because you know, I'm about that action. I found the other parts of the stronghold, but I really haven't seen any mobs to kill, so I was just ended up looking for the portal. Then I started getting attacked by a freaking grill because of the lack of light. After what seemed like forever, I found the portal and I put in my eyes and prepared myself to take the plunge. After like 10 minutes of contemplation, I finally jumped in. I spawned in on a platform and summoned my mount, but I was already being attacked as soon as I got in. My first objective was to destroy all the crystals so that the dragon would stop healing and I could kill it. I started getting attacked by those damn things that give you instability, and it was really annoying to deal with. Killing the dragon wasn't hard, but it was slow and tedious because of all the movement it was doing. After I killed the beast, I jumped to the ground and picked up the items and the XP, but I was getting rushed by mobs. I also realized that I can farm pinky meat here as well, but I didn't want something unexpected to happen, so I left as soon as I could. After I got back, I filled all the XP tomes with XP I got from the dragon. Now that I had the dragon skills, I can now start making some of the items I needed for my Ankh charm. I made a mixed color dragon skill, which gives you immunity to poison and withering. I went back out to explore this day. I was looking for new villagers and trying to find a ring of overclocking from some strays, and the strays only spawn in cold biomes at night or in very specific structures with spawners. I was also hoping that I could get lucky and find an underwater dungeon with a shulker heart in it so that I can make my ring of free action. Towards the end of the day, I found another wooden brewery in the ice biome. There was a villager with Reflection 2 and another villager with Supreme Fire Aspect 1. This was the first Supreme enchant I found in almost 200 days, so you can say my luck with enchants have been really shitty so far. Anyway, I trapped this guy in here for his own protection, and I went around the area trying to kill some strays, hoping that I could get the freaking ring drop. But I'm not gonna lie, my RNG luck has always been dog water. I killed this sleeping ice dragon, and I tried to kill this other dragon, but I ended up freaking dying, and I don't really know how. I think this is probably my only death for the playthrough. I'm not sure, you can fact check me on that, but it was still really frustrating. I got my stuff back and decided I'll come back in the morning to re-roll those villagers. I flew back to that village where the end portal was, and I wanted to try to find some villagers to re-roll, and the first villager I found had the freaking mending enchant. And this was good because I couldn't find where the other one was, so this is the only source I had of mending books as of now. I started to box this one in with some wood because I didn't want to end up losing it or have it get killed by a random mob, and another villager walked up to me and this one had lifesteal too. So I decided I was going to box them together for their own protection. After that, I started to re-roll them, but I didn't get anything else good from them, so I spent the rest of the night running around the village looking for better enchants, but I found nothing. I flew back to that brewery in the ice biome to re-roll those villagers, and I got nothing. So I went back to flying around looking for some strays in a village to set a waypoint at. At the end of the night, I found a village with a library, and I got a second Strength and Vitality enchantment book. I wanted to make an obsidian skull, but I needed to make some actual potions of fire resistance, and I only had elixirs. I made a brewing stand and filled some water bottles. After I made the obsidian skull, I fused it with my cobalt shield and an anvil and made myself an obsidian shield. Now the only thing I'm missing is a ring of free action, and I'll have my Ankh shield. I went out to go look for more villagers to re-roll, but I still didn't get anything good. I saw this battle tower that was half defiled stone, so I decided that I had to see what type of loot was inside of it on principle. The best thing I ended up getting was a sin pendant though. I ended the night finding another library, but there was no librarian villager or good enchants inside of it, sadly. I found an underwater dungeon today, and the chest had some pretty good loot inside of it, but the freaking water mobs were pretty annoying. The dungeon was freaking huge, but the trip was worth it when I finally found a freaking shulker heart. I got attacked by a Gru after coming out of the water, but I was still happy nonetheless because now all I needed was a ring of overclocking and I can make my freaking OP bauble. I flew back to the ice biome because I had to kill these stupid strays all night just to try to get the item, and I did not get the item. I found this cool little temple in the morning, and it turns out it was a dungeon. So I did some light dungeon exploring, but I didn't want to go too deep into the dungeon because I was on a mission to try to find freaking advanced protection or freaking supreme sharpness. I found a massive ice biome, and I was kind of hoping that I would get lucky and find a Shivaxi monument, but we both know that that didn't happen. I spent much of the night killing strays again. At this point, I was hoping for a freaking blood moon to help freaking my odds of getting a freaking ring of overclocking, and I did not get it this night. I looted another massive battle tower and got some pretty decent loot. I went back home to reforge this freaking ring of diamond skin. Now, it was another night of me trying to get this dumb item to drop, and guess what I freaking did not get? I told you guys, I have the worst RNG luck of all time. I once waited 6 freaking hours for a freaking quest drop item in World of Warcraft to drop, and the item had like a freaking 70% drop rate, and I didn't get it for a long time. I went back to exploring and I found this really strange floating castle. I found another library and nothing good inside of it, but this guy did have an advanced power enchant. I went back to try to get this item to drop, and guess what? I finally freaking got it. Man, when I tell you that was a freaking relief, I made my ring of free action and my Ankh charm, and then I fused that with my obsidian shield to get my Ankh shield. Now I freed up like 3 different slots for my baubles. I decided I was going to do some exploring today, but along the way I decided I was going to kill all the Aerosaurs I could find so I can use their meat to make battle burritos. I also killed some Krakes because you can use their meat to make ramen as well. I found this swamp and I started killing the aspid for their meat. Now, the only thing I need to do is find a reliable way to get pinky meat and I'll have an infinite source of battle burritos. I decided it was time to go back to the nether to get some pinky meat and to explore the things I was too weak to see last time. I made some battle burritos and buffed up and then I jumped in. I hopped on my mount so that I wouldn't get jumped by anything on the ground, and then I wanted to see if I can loot this dungeon. So I jumped down and dug into the ground and all hell broke loose. The Arguses inside the dungeon were super annoying because they kept causing me instability. After a while I got bored, so I decided it was time to leave. I started getting attacked by something freaking shooting bombs at me, so I decided it was time to get out of here. I was looking for some pinky meat, but I really couldn't see anything in the general area until I found this little area over here. But I ended up knocking one of the pinkies into the lava by mistake, so. After exploring for a bit, I made a new portal and got the hell out of the nether. I hate the nether so much. It's not a good place. I teleported back to this dragon statue and made my way to the reverse battle tower that I left behind last time, and underneath the reverse battle tower was a dungeon. And underneath that dungeon was another dungeon, but I wasn't here for that dungeon, so I just decided I was going to summon my pets, and I ended up falling into this creeper trap, and it scared the hell out of me. I started getting jumped by a whole bunch of silverfish, and that's when I knew it was time to leave because I saw somebody get jumped by silverfish and ended up crashing their game. I realized that I was starting to run low on wine this day, so I went back to make more wine to replenish my supplies. Alright guys, what you're about to see is going to be pretty crazy, so I'm going to play the whole clip because when you see it, you're going to think I was cheating or something. And to be honest, I still don't know how this happened, and I'm pretty sure I used up literally all my Minecraft luck right here. So I wanted to continue looking for new librarian villagers and some cool structures or dungeons to fight. So I went back to the last village I found at the top of my atlas, right? So I got on my mount and I found this defiled biome. And if you look at the map, you can tell that I haven't been here before. Anyway, I saw 3 freaking golden bookworms as soon as I got here. And that is already incredibly rare as they have like a 1% spawn rate. And I spent like over 20 days last video looking for a single one. And I thought this was cool, so I killed them for their scales since it was a rare spawn. And I already had my disenchantment table, so I didn't really need them for anything. And then after I killed them, I found another golden bookworm. And then I found another 5. And then I found another 5. And at this point, I was very confused. And I think you can understand why I would say you would think I was cheating, but I swear on my entire channel, this was 100% legit. But at this point, I realized I couldn't just leave this opportunity behind. So I decided I was going to make a bookworm farm with the golden bookworms that I found in this area. But I decided I wanted to kill everything in the area because I didn't want anything to destroy my farm. And to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, besides the abundance of bookworms in this area also has something that's also very rare and kind of crazy, but you'll see that later in the video. I went back to base to get some building materials from my farm, and I dug out this little area and placed some stone brick all around it. Then I filled the sides with glass so that I can see inside of it, and I placed down an iron door so that mobs couldn't break it down while I was in there. Now, it was time to go back to collect the bookworms. The rock makes it very easy to pick up mobs and bring them back from farming. I brought back quite a few golden bookworms, and I'm doing this because if you breed 2 golden bookworms together, then you have like a 10% chance to get another golden bookworm. Unlike when you breed like a regular bookworm and a golden bookworm, you only have like a 4% chance. I also killed this dragon over here as a safety precaution. After I filled this thing with about 10 golden bookworms, I sealed it up for their own safety because I didn't want anything getting in or out of this. Now I needed to figure out how the bookworms work and how to breed them. One YouTube video later, I learned that I need to make a bookworm analyzer, and I also had to make some wild treats for them to breed. You make the analyzer with umbrium ingots and scutter eyes, which you get from the spiders in these types of biomes. I wanted to make the fowl candies, and I needed these mushrooms, sugar, and a type of pink slime called fowl slime or something like that. You crush the mushrooms into defilement powder in your inventory, and you can use the analyzers on the bookworms to check its level, health, digestion time, and its enchantment level and digested level. You make the candies by combining the powder, sugar, and fowl slime. And you feed this to a bookworm and it makes them breed, and the babies will mature in about 20 minutes and the adults can breed about every 5 minutes. You can increase the time for maturation by feeding the babies more candies. Now guys, things get insane from here. So right next to my farm, I saw another dragon, and this thing was massive. This was probably the biggest dragon I've ever seen in RLCraft, and I was so confused as to where it came from because I did not see it earlier. It killed my mount really quickly, so I tried to kill it with my bow, and when this thing landed, it was even bigger than I first thought. It was also beefy as hell because it was taking a ton of hits from my halberd. After what seemed like forever, I killed it, and I couldn't even celebrate because there was an even bigger dragon right behind it. I didn't know where these things were coming from until I saw this freaking giant hole in the ground. So it's safe to assume that these 2 dragons were at least tier 4, and they came from the underground to kill everything in their path. I know for a fact this dragon was tier 5 because it was cooking me. Before I knew it, I was already dead. I went back to get my stuff, and now that I got my stuff back, I decided I needed to get stronger to kill this freaking dragon, so I buffed up. Now I was ready to kill that stupid beast, but I had to catch it first. I was so scared that it was going to destroy the village and my farm, so I tried to get it to target me, and it didn't really work. It killed my mount, and I saw that another dragon was right next to it as well. Where the hell are all the fucking dragons coming from? I chased it down on foot while shooting it with my bow, trying to grab its attention, but it just left me alone. After a while, it got low enough for me to make it land, and after it landed, we had a fairly fierce but short battle, and I finally killed it. I went back to check on my farm, and I saw that it was safe even though the battle was literally right next to it. I don't know how it didn't get destroyed. I went to loot the first dragon, and it was actually a tier 5 dragon, and it dropped the dragon egg, so my trouble was kind of worth it in the end. I went back to base to clear some space out of my inventory, and then I came back to get the rest of the dragon. I looted the other dragon, and this one also dropped a dragon egg as well. So now I had 2 dragon eggs, and I can hatch them, and I was kind of excited, but at the same time, I didn't really know what I would do with the dragons. I went back to go check out the hole that the dragon came out of, and I was wondering why the hell it woke up and where this den even came from. The den didn't have any good loot inside of it, but it was still pretty interesting to look at though. I tried to find the other den, but I couldn't find it, so I just decided I was going to put these skulls on my wall as a trophy of my conquest. That night, I decided to kill this dragon just in case it wanted to start some conflict later as well. I wanted to clear out some space and build a platform for my dragons, so I got my shovel and I started digging. After clearing out the space, I took the dirt and started filling in holes to make sure the entire area was flat and ready to be built on. After like 3 days of work, I had the area done, and all I needed to do was build the platform. Now I got a place for my dragons built, and I just need to light it up and hatch my dragon eggs. I was hatching my dragons today, so I placed down 2 blocks of netherrack down inside my base, then I lit it with a flint and steel and I placed my dragon eggs. Now I just gotta wait for them to hatch. After like 10 minutes, the dragons hatched and I picked them up. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of feeling like Daenerys Targaryen right now. I used the dragon staff on them so they wouldn't wander off, and I kept them in the dragon's flute for safety. Now I need a ton of bones and meat to make dragon treats so they can grow bigger. I decided I was going to kill all my chickens for their meat. After I killed all the adults, I used the eggs to spawn more babies, and I will come back later when they're fully grown and do it all again. I also made some armor for my babies as well. I took some name tags, and since I already have a boy and a girl dragon and I already named my raptors Jesse and James, then I decided I was going to name these guys Gunta and Thinka. Now, it was time for them to grow up. I didn't have many bones, so I could only make about 30 something treats, and I had to split them up for each dragon, but now look how big these guys have gotten. I went back to continue breeding my bookworms for higher levels, and I ended up finding a dungeon in this area over here, so I buffed up and went down for some action. I ended up finding a lot more foul slime down here as well, so I think that was an added bonus besides just the XP and loot. After a while, I wanted to start collecting bones from all the skeletons that are spawning. After getting overran for a while, I decided that I had everything I needed, and I decided to leave before something unfortunate happened. I also took a tool belt I found and added more pouches to it so that it can hold more of my stuff. I made more foul candy so that I can breed more bookworms as well. Later that day, I also grew my dragons some more, and now they're too big for me to put on my shoulders, so back in the horn they go. Alright guys, so here's some boring stuff. I'm about to spend an abundance of time trying to breed these bookworms, and I am sorry in advance. And I think at this point, I was going through a cycle of breeding, killing, and waiting for these things to grow up and be ready to be rebred. At a certain point, I planted all these bushes so that I wouldn't have to go look for more wild berries anymore. And I also decided to replace my ice sword with a spear, so I took the better enchants I got recently and put them on my new spear. After like 2 hours of breeding, the highest level bookworm I had so far was level 20 and the max level was 30, so I'm making progress fairly quickly. I wanted to see how the bookworms work today, so I brought out a ton of trash enchants to try out and I fed them to see what happened. So basically what you do is you feed the bookworms the books and it gets enchanting levels. Then depending on the digestion time of the bookworm and the level of the bookworm, it will produce a new random enchanted book for you. And the higher level ones will give you better enchants. And if it's a golden bookworm, then it'll give you a special enchant like mending. During the night, a freaking event started and it was a freaking shadow event. And there's so many grooves around and all those elementals things. I hated it so much. I decided the best place for me was the water so that I can move faster than they can fly. And after the event ended, I decided to go back to my bookworms. I did some more breeding tonight and then I went out to explore for a bit. I found this flight potion in this floating temple in the sky, and I also found a spot with a bunch of mobs to kill for their meat. Growing these dragons is honestly a very grueling process because you need a ton of meat and bones, and the only way to do that is by killing things. I found this cool little island next to a Lincolnite's dungeon, and inside was a pre-made base with a ton of stuff that I wish I found like 250 days ago because this place had everything you needed to get a playthrough started. It also had this massive storage area with a ton of free loot that would help a lot of people out. I spent the rest of the night breeding as well. I wanted to go fight something today, so I prepared all my buffing items and I went out to find something to kill. I found another library, but there wasn't really anything good inside of it, but I did find a return 3 enchant, so if I ever decide to make a throwing weapon, this would come in handy. I found this really cool structure near a giant tower, and there was also a dragon nearby, so I decided to shoot it down. I found this floating island and I made a trip back to do some breeding, and I finally got a bookworm to level 30. Now, I just gotta get his digestion time to under 10 and then breed a max level golden bookworm. I spent the next few days breeding, and I know this is very boring, but at the part of the game I'm at, I need enchants desperately, and my luck has been dog water so far, so the only way I can get better enchants is through bookworms because I can't find them. So a little pain now, and next time I won't have to do this anymore. Found a villager with Atomic Deconstructor 2 enchant, and this was a really good enchant that I needed for endgame, so I went back to base to get some blocks to build around this guy to protect him from danger. I re-rolled him to see if he got anything else good, but he did not. I found another guy that had Arrow Piercing 2, and I boxed him up with another guy for later use. I wanted to farm more bones for my dragons and some XP, so I made my way to this giant battle tower, and I buffed up and started my slaughter. Even though nothing in this freaking dungeon could really do enough damage to kill me, I still needed to be careful of being overrun by mobs, and I also had to watch out for witches because they're way too unpredictable with their potions. After I got enough bones and XP, I went back to base and I made some more dragon treats and started growing my babies. Now, my dragons are huge and rideable. It seems like they just hatched yesterday. I hopped on Gunta and I took them out for a little test ride, and I really don't even know how I would use these dragons in battle, but it's nice to know that I have them even if it's just for show. I spent the next couple of days trying to lower the digestion time of my bookworms, but I really wanted to try to get a level 30 golden one, but my luck has been so bad recently. I also grew my dragons a bit more, but look how cute they are when they're sleeping. I took some more books and I fed into a bookworm to see if I could get any good enchants from them, and it did give me some decent books and it came back really fast as well. The enchants were hit and miss, but I feel like a max level golden bookworm would give me something really good, but I just can't get one. I spent the last of these few days making some more wine since I was finally starting to run low. I went out to explore because I wanted to do something other than freaking breeding all the freaking time, and I was kind of hoping that I could find some of the enchants I needed so I didn't have to grind for breeding anymore. After this video, I'll probably take a break with this playthrough and do something with more excitement and action. Anyway, I re-rolled some villagers and I didn't get anything good. I found this giant town that I wished I found forever ago. I took the golden blocks from this bell tower and I started freezing, so I decided I had to stand next to this lava pool to heat back up. I found another town in a snow biome, so I took the golden blocks again, and I found another one of those sand structures and I decided to climb it to the top. There wasn't anything at the top, so I just went down this little fountain to the center, and the center was freaking empty. Afterwards, I got attacked by this husk and he brought his homies to jump me. I went back to the nether today because I needed more pinky meat and I also wanted to explore a bit more. The nether still freaks me out even though I'm pretty strong with all the gear, but on the slight chance that I die, I'll end up losing all my stuff, and that kind of freaks me out. I found another dungeon and there was a bunch of piggies on top of it, so I dug into it, but I got rushed by a horde of mobs. This dungeon had a spawner for pinkies, so it was a good farming location as well. I decided to try to fight this pain elemental boss, and it was a pain in the ass because it would keep you paralyzed the whole time, and I could only attack it with my bow since I was paralyzed. This is honestly some crazy boss design because it reminds me of getting paraflinched in Pokemon by Togekiss. After a long time and me screaming internally, I finally killed the stupid boss. After a bit more exploring, I built a portal and returned back to the overworld. I spawned underneath another dungeon, so I rebuffed up and decided that I was gonna go see what was inside this dungeon. Man, there was a ton of mobs here to kill, but this was good because I still needed a ton of bones to get my dragons to level 5. I wanted to leave now that I pretty much cleared out the entire dungeon, but I didn't want to teleport back home because I haven't been to this part of the map before and I wanted to come back. So I decided I was going to dig up and look for a village to set a waypoint at. After I got back home, I summoned my new pets that I got from beating the bosses, and I'm probably not going to use them, but it's cool that I have them. I killed more chickens for their meat and I made more trees for my dragons. Now they are both level 5 or tier 5 and they're pretty much full grown, even though they can still get a bit bigger. I tested out the damage that a tier 5 dragon could cause and man, it was a lot. I also went back to do some more bookworm breeding. I went back to exploring and I found this underwater dungeon to loot. This place had a ton of pretty decent enchants and items, and afterwards I looted this dungeon over here. Even though this dungeon was relatively safe now, I still had to be careful of the witches here. I attacked another battle tower and I decided to spend the rest of the time breeding. Breeding now is honestly starting to piss me off since I have maxed out regular bookworms, but I just couldn't get a maxed out level golden bookworm. The highest level golden bookworm I have right now is level 22 and that is not good enough. I even got the digestion time of my bookworms down to 1 tick and it's literally every other bookworm that's like that. I did some more exploring because breeding freaking sucks so bad and I wanted to try to find something interesting. I found this thing that I was certain was a dragon den, so I buffed up and jumped down to kill the beast. The dragon kept flinging me around like a ragdoll and it was starting to piss me off because it kept picking me up and shaking the shit out of me. But I killed it and I got another dragon egg. Now we're gonna have 3 dragons in our little family. I really am Daenerys Targaryen. I went back to base to hatch the little dragon and I made some armor for the dragon and decided to name her Freydis from the Vikings Valhalla TV show. Now it is day 300 and I have 3 dragons. Alright guys, 300 days down, and to be honest guys, making this last video was a major pain in the butt and it kept getting pushed back and back because school and other things kept taking my attention. But now that it's done, I think I'm gonna end up taking a break from RLCraft for a while because I think the stage I am in the game, I need very specific enchants to fight the final bosses and I am having horrible luck finding them, so I'll probably come back later to this to finish it up. I want to do a video on a more exciting mod pack, something, you know, with a lot more action or attention, something to, you know, keep you guys interested and keep me interested in playing. Maybe like a zombie apocalypse or like Parasite, something of that nature. I need something that's like constant action or danger, or maybe something that has active progression so that I can keep myself entertained. So let me know if you have any ideas down below. But I'm What the Chuck, guys, and it's been a pleasure. I'll catch you guys next time.